All right, and welcome to Casey Needs a Co-host Zoomvivor edition. Today's the Deep Dive podcast where we dissect episode 5 in Betrayal We Trust. And today my co-host is Deb from Z3. How you doing today, Deb?
Hey, I'm doing great, Casey, doing great. So excited to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining. So I guess before we get into it, what have you been up to lately? For all those trying to catch back up with you.
Well, COVID kind of shut everything down. But look, I got to show you my shirt. You know I'm a teacher, right? That's social with the distance formula.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm a math geek. But pretty much that's it. Just teaching every day. And I'm coaching JV soccer right now, boys soccer.
Oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm. Any new games that you've been getting into or no?
Casey, this was my very first, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was pretty much an Erica, not knowing that people were trying to talk to me. So, I lived that world the first episode. So no, and I didn't even know this stuff existed. All these orgs and everything. This is so cool. That's a whole nother world for me.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you. Zoomvivor was my first. I had no clue any of this existed. But I'm very happy that I did, find out about this. I ended up playing one other game since Zoomvivor. But hopefully, you get the opportunity to play something else as well, maybe Zoomvivor again.
I hope so. I'm looking for the blood versus water. I want my daughter involved.
Oh, that would be fun. I mean, I've heard a lot since your season about you and your daughter. I guess people know about your daughter. I have no clue. I never saw anything in the comments or anything.
Okay. I actually have 4 daughters. They're all grown. But the one I was referring to, she just moved to Pittsburgh.
I moved from Pittsburgh not too long ago back here.
Yeah. And, I'm down in Georgia, but she moved up there to go to Duquesne for her master's. So yeah, I miss her, but I miss all of them because they all live away from me. Mm-hmm.
Oh. All right. Well, I guess we're going to just jump into it then. We're going to kind of kick off with, the aftermath and, the start of the tribe. So what did you think about last week's vote out?
Yeah, I did not expect it. And, Charlene had the perfect statement on this week's episode about it when she said that Bing asserted her power. And I was, Bing's got more power than people realize. At least that's the way it appeared with the editing and everything. Bing's got a lot of power. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think with, the first 4 episodes, there were, I think, 2 really key players in the game, and that was Bads and Bing. And mm-hmm. I really liked both of them. Bads is my favorite from the start, but Bing's starting to grow on me, and I think she almost has and I could be wrong, could be a wrong read, but I almost feel like she's got this silent partner, and that is Brian. And I don't know if you've seen the pre-assessment videos or, the cast assessment videos, but he is a very, he's a 2-time winner. He's only ever played 2 games and he's a 2-time winner. So
no way.
I think he knows his stuff. And I think he's, a little silent partner there with Bing,
mm-hmm.
but
he might be a little too confident from those 2 wins though. He might get taken down. We'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, and there's some stuff that Sherry was saying later that we'll get into. But I liked, that tribe overall, and I really like Bing.
Right.
So, all right.
One more thing. Kenneth throwing the shade. I loved Kenneth's shade he threw right there. Talking about, the one who was saying the person going home is the most undeserving was the one who went home. And I was like, oh, Kenneth, throw that shade, boy, throw it.
He always has like a bunch of little moments like that. He's a little extra, he's over the top, and I love it. It gives a little bit of flair, to the season. He seems like he's a character. Some people are characters, some people are players. He's definitely a character.
He's definitely a character. Mm-hmm.
So, that tribe aside, or more specifically focusing on Manu, we saw that Manu did have the Rupture Advantage.
Yes.
Now,
what is that?
Okay, so the Rupture Advantage is an advantage in which someone before a challenge can force a tribe swap. So, if I'm not mistaken, we have never seen an advantage like that in Survivor history. Uh,
I haven't.
with other advantages like this, I think we've seen mutinies happen before, and we also had the mutiny advantage for Z4, but we've never seen a forced tribe swap. So,
Mhm.
if he wants to, he could use that advantage. Assuming, if I'm not mistaken, assuming there's not already a planned tribe swap.
Okay.
Now, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, again.
No, I was going to say it says in it that you can't do it right after a tribe swap, but I was wondering, why he didn't play it this time, because it just really seemed like he would have been the one going home because he was outnumbered.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think maybe that might have been his best move. Actually, you know what? I take that back. If we actually think about what he said in the beginning, he did say that he currently was with the numbers. And obviously, there's now almost this like rivalry or tension between Bing and Bads.
Right,
So,
right.
Manu, if he wants to, he can be that extra number. He had a really good confessional about it. So, I think actually his best move would be to stay with the group.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but it's a matter of reading. I mean, there's always much more information in any of these games or even in Real Survivor that we don't even get.
Right. The
Just
behind the
also,
scenes.
yeah, and just to reiterate something which I've said now on the podcast a few times, but I know you haven't. I don't think you said you've seen all the podcasts at this point. But yes, I was on production, but the information that I'm privy to is actually like really little. I'd say if you have someone like Rain and James who know 100% of the information, I know about 10 to 15%. I think I know some of the key points and some of the other stuff that I witnessed, but I myself don't know all the information. That's going on in this game.
Mhm. Okay.
But yeah, as far as I know, he didn't actually play it. I think that might have been a planned swap. Um, so he probably still has that advantage. But yes, we got to the next portion, after the whole aftermath phase. They split up into three tribes. They mixed it up into three tribes. You had Arakoa, which was Kanita, Kat, Bads, and Danny. Then you
Right.
had Myota, which was Erica, Bing, Charlene, and Ken. And then Kekulu, which was Manu, Sherry, Kira, and Dakota. So
Right.
what do you think about the new tribe dynamics?
We want to talk about them before eviction, or yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah, so what
Okay.
everyone's, swapping into.
Right. Well, I mean, it most of them, it's like one person's on the out, like Erica coming in on Mayota. That one, I was really worried about Erica going into there because, they're the three Filipinos who were together. And I was just concerned about that. Arakoa, now I drew all sorts of little lines coming from who had relationships from whom. And then there was a 3 this way, and then a 2 this way, and a 2 this way. I didn't know how they were going to work that one out. That was just like, whoa. And then on, what is it? Kekolu?
Kekalu?
Kekolu?
I think
Kekolu.
Kekalu.
Kekolu. Yeah, it looked like 3 against 1 on that one too. I was really expecting there to be some issues there too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean you're exactly right. In each of the tribes there was one person that was just an outlier. But the most dynamic, grouping would be Arakoa. You know, there's a bunch of different connections outside the game, inside the game, original alliances from the first episode. Oh, and then also not only do you have these three tribes, but at Exile you still have two people,
Yeah.
which is Kostas and Brian, who are completely on. They're missing everything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is very important, especially with tribes this tiny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these people are already building connections that will stay with them through the rest of the game. And Costas and Brian, they're building their own though. They're building their own connection. But yeah, knowing all the talking that goes on behind the scenes, yeah, they're definitely left out of those. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then
and I
you've got the Pangaea alliance too. Did I say that right? Pangaea,
Bisaya,
the Pangaea
Bisaya, yeah.
alliance. Yeah, that sub alliance going on uh, amongst the Philippines. There's some that are in it and some that aren't. Yeah, it's very crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's the thing. There's so many different connections. Yeah, you do have the Messiah alliance. You had that possible all female alliance. You had original tribe alliances. Then you have the
Yep.
Sherry and Dakota alliance, and then
Right. Cat
they're
and Danny. Hmm.
yeah, and then I think they played on. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was Strand that they played on. Another org.
Right.
I mean, there's just at this point, there's already a lot of alliances, a lot of connections. Um, and then, yeah, in addition to Sherry and Dakota, you also add that, Erica Kostas thing with Kira. So it was crazy. I mean, there was
It
a
was.
lot of stuff to, factor in. But once again, at the end of the day, each tribe kind of had one person that was a little bit more on the outs.
Right. Absolutely. Hmm.
So, going into the next segment, we're going to talk about the challenge. What did you think of this little relay race?
Oh, it was so cool. At first I don't know, I wasn't paying attention or something because I kept wondering why the second person wasn't playing with their cups. I'm like, isn't it everybody doing it at once? Then I realized, wait, no, they had to finish before they got to the next one. But yeah, the cups were so easy compared to the cards. And boy, did they have a hard time with the cards.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone licking their cards and trying to stand them up. And it was just, it kept falling, kept falling. It was insane. Hmm.
yeah. I remember when we were filming this segment, I wasn't at the challenge, so I did not witness the challenge at all. So I was just in an empty Zoom room, and I just remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, this challenge is going on like really, really long." I think it went on just under an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know James had to change the rules halfway through because it just wasn't happening. Hmm.
Yeah, I believe he changed the rules up twice. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah. Hmm.
you can swap at one point, and then it was just two levels.
Only two levels. Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. How difficult that is, and while a lot of these challenges do vary, and it's hard to kind of predict whose skills are going to be most helpful on a challenge, this one does actually kind of remind me of Real Survivor because you always have the tower puzzles or the
Yes.
stacking. So I mean that was kind of fun that they got to do that. But I think as far as the challenge goes, I really don't actually have too many notes on that.
I liked at the end when it showed, I don't even remember who it was, but they had bent their cards and were doing them long ways. Did you see that? It was
Yes,
right
yes,
at
I
the
did.
very end. They showed somebody doing that. He'd already lost, but it was just, I was like, they're doing everything they can to get these cards to stand.
Yeah, yeah, stacking them different ways, bending them. Bending them seemed to be kind of actually the key to getting them, stacked properly. And then even instead of building each of the triangles, you do triangle, triangle, bridge,
Stop. Hmm.
triangle, bridge. And then,
Hmm.
that seemed to be working for a lot of people, which
Right.
actually, there was another note that I just remembered during that challenge. Obviously, you had people speaking English, you had people speaking Spanish, you had people speaking I
Tagalog.
apologize. Tagalog.
Tagalog. Hmm.
Which then also I know there's various dialects, which is where the
Yes.
Pangaea comes in. Um, so which I believe Bing did make a note of, like, you guys are talking and it's not really doing anything, which on
Yeah.
the whole language note too, I completely forgot that Dakota can speak Spanish.
Right. And I think Sherry was saying she could too.
Yeah, she ended up saying later in the episode that she could too. Didn't know Sherry could speak Spanish at all. So
Right.
that was an interesting, thing that was probably much more helpful to Manu, is that Dakota could just quickly, relay information with him,
Right.
which was probably helpful,
Right. Yes.
although they still lost.
It was a tough challenge. It was really
Yeah.
tough. Hmm.
But it's also really interesting, of all three tribes that were there, the tribe, or more specifically, the player that needed it most of all was Erica, and that tribe did
That
win.
one. Yes. I was again really worried about Erica. They even, bashed her a little bit. So I just knew she was going home.
Yeah, she 100% would have been the easy vote out. And I feel bad for Erica because I feel like Erica is obviously like a very naturally social person. Um, it's just a matter of, is she socially aware? There, you know,
Yes. Yes. One thing I wasn't sure, when we were doing it, and I'm pretty sure when y'all were doing it, because I watched y'all's show, we hid the fact as much as we could that we were on our phones. We didn't want people to know what we were doing. We didn't want them to know we were talking or we were going for the idol. But she's just sitting there with her phone up, just typing away. I'm like, girl, put the phone down. Don't let them see you doing it. I said, that's going to hurt you.
Yeah, I think when people start to scramble, people aren't even worried about hiding it. They're just like, I need to get this information out. I don't really care.
But I did, because I was like, first off, if I'm talking to somebody and it's not you, you're going to get nervous. If you know I'm doing it, if you know I'm going for an idol because I've got my phone up and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. Now, yeah, we could tell to a degree when people were looking down, but most of us, we tried to handle that too. She's just got that phone right up there. Girl, put the phone away.
Yeah. And there are, and I won't go too far into it, but this season there were kind of limitations on like when you could use your phone to sort of, push more social interaction. And also the breakout rooms really helped with the social interaction, because then you're not stuck. Cause obviously you're not going to talk strategy about the person you're going to vote out. You're going to hit that other breakout room to be like, hey, I think we need to get this person out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
and it's not quite as obvious what's being said and how it's being handled. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we've already kind of started to, talk about outside of the challenge. Like I said, I don't think there was a whole lot to talk about for that challenge.
Right.
But I just wanted to make one other note about Erica too. Like I said, she's very social, but I don't think she's most socially aware. I think for her, she really needs to, and especially if she decides to play any future orgs, she needs to kind of read the room a bit. I think the way that she plays socially seems to be, it's very receptive for people like Dakota, who Dakota seems like he's a very social person, but also, and it could have been partly because she's the only American in a group of Filipinos, but she's trying to push the social interaction a little too hard, which this isn't the first time we had seen her do this. We also saw this on the, I believe it was the second episode where she's like, let's play, or it might have been the third episode, but she's like, oh, let's play a game, and everyone's just like on their phone.
Yes, yeah.
So,
and we had a situation like that on Mind where Nikki was voted out, and pretty much the reason was because of her social game. It was too much for some people, and I hated to see her go because she was awesome.
I loved her in your season, and I was so happy she was on the podcast.
Yes.
She was absolutely great. She's got great energy, but I can definitely see, especially watching her in the game, how it could feel like a lot. Like it could be almost overbearing.
And I loved it because I'm that way to a degree. Hopefully not too much, but I'm very social. I'm very ADHD and out there and loud. And so she was a little bit more than me. So it took it off of me. And I didn't realize it till people decided to vote her out and why they were saying it. I was like, ooh, that could have been me. So,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get to learn through other people's experiences and mistakes.
Right.
So going back to the Kekalu tribe. So once again, we have Manu, Sherry, Kira, and Dakota.
Right.
I thought it was really interesting that Manu knew that Dakota had an idol.
Yeah.
He found, which they never really showed him jumping out of the breakout room, and really no one commented on it. But it was interesting that of all people, Manu knew that. I wonder how he knew that.
I don't know. Yes, I don't know. I wondered that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think that's the first sign that you can tell that there are these new bonds that are forming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely, because that could definitely be where it came from. I'll tell you something to build that relationship. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously they have the Spanish thing, which makes, Manu a little bit more comfortable. And then also it can make Manu seem like his main options have to be Dakota and Sherry, which gives this sort of forced loyalty,
Yes. Now, I'm wondering how the people who were in the original tribe with Sherry and Dakota and Kara, how they're going to react to Sherry and Dakota voting out Kira. That one that might come down harsh on them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it very well might. I think also there's also the possibility that the game is moving so fast, as well as some people might not even really think too much of it, because we have had a couple comments in the past couple episodes where people have said Kira is not super active.
Right.
Which even, I think about last episode with Ming. Ming mentioned how she wasn't very active.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
Right.
matter of like, which I still wonder, was Kira the right vote out?
I don't know. When you've got a solid to throw away part of your solid to bring in an unknown, that's scary. That's scary. Yeah. We'll find out though.
Yeah. I mean, also with that too, she was definitely solid with them. She really didn't have much of a choice, I guess, as well. But also, she doesn't seem like she was playing that hard.
Didn't appear to. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really get a game side of her. We didn't really get a character side of her. So, like, she probably was just an easy number. So you had an alliance with this girl since the beginning. She was a definite vote with you guys. Like, why would you get rid of her?
Right. That was my thought. She's following you. She's following everything you say. She's doing anything you tell her. Why would you throw that away just because she's not as involved? But again, there was stuff going on behind the scenes we didn't know.
That's true. I mean, that is definitely true. We're we're only given a portion of the information, So before we move on to the other tribe, what do you think generally of Dakota and Sherry, who definitely seem to be at the top of their tribe?
They seem to be at the top, and they seem to be aware that they're at the top. They've got their plan. They're together. They're focused. I'm hoping they can corral it in just a little bit, because I'm afraid they're going to be seen as people running it and need to get rid of them. Now, I will tell you, I sided with Sherry from the beginning because of the education, but Dakota said he was going into teaching too. And the more I listen to Dakota, the more I feel like there's a real connection between me and Dakota. I really like Dakota. So I hope they don't get run off because of their connection.
Yeah. So wait, actually, I want to kind of jump back to that point. So wait, you feel this, connection with Dakota now, but what's going on with, your thoughts on Sherry? It kind of seemed like you might not now like her as much.
No, I still like her. It was just, I had picked her from the very beginning. From the very beginning, she was going to be the one I picked. And then when I got to know Dakota and watching Dakota, Sherry seems strong, really, really strong. And Dakota seems kind of just bouncing around, and he's got the strength there, but he's got so much bounce, I guess is the word for it. The lights going on in his eyes. He's very animated. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, animated. And I'm drawn to animated.
Okay.
That's why I liked you. That's why I liked you so much.
Oh, thank you. I thought I was more a little logical, but I love that.
You were, but you had a lot of animation in there too. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I definitely can see that with Dakota and Sherry. I think Dakota, I like Dakota, but I think he is, for me, he's just becoming a little too cocky. But that also comes from, he is in a position of power. And, Sherry, I do like Sherry, but I do also agree with you. She's like a strong cup of coffee,
Yes, yes.
So
she's going to get it done. She's going to get it done. And you better be on board with her, or you're going to hit the road. But that sometimes can really come back to bite you.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, so now we're going to jump on to the other side. We have Arakoa. So very chaotic connections, as we talked about already. What did you think of their ultimate decision to vote out Danny?
I felt fine with it. I was not really upset about it. I really was shocked that Kanita was so scared. from what again, editing, all I'm getting is this side of it, but it sure didn't look like Kaneda had anything to worry about. Like I said, what is it? Kaneda, Danny, and Bads coming from the prior tribe. You've got Kat and Danny have a relationship outside. Was that outside or was that within? Kat and Danny's relationship?
The Stranded they played on.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Kaneda and Kat had a relationship. They're the ones who played on another.
Oh, yeah. Kaneda, Kat, and Danny.
Okay. Yeah. And so it's just all these different groupings and triangles. And I was impressed with Bads that he was able to pull it out and not be the one gone, especially with everybody having so many prior relationships. I was proud of him, because that's a tough place to be. You've got the females, you've got the relationships. He definitely worked some magic behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think he definitely did a little bit. To be honest, I think the ultimate downfall of Danny was her not being social with Kaneda. Mm-hmm. Which, right. If you notice, that often is what screws people. Yeah, even though you think you have a short vote, you still have to talk to everyone.
You've got to.
Because it makes people feel uncomfortable, which if we saw, we don't know how much of a true possibility it would have been, but there could have been an all-female alliance if she just would have responded to Kaneda.
Right. And Kaneda, that's one of the things that scared Kaneda so bad, is I've got one that's not talking to me, so, and when you're scared, that's when you start taking action too, trying to work things. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, we had, connections outside the game. We had original alliances. We had the last tribe, connections. So, yeah, you did have all these factors at play. And I think that's ultimately what it came down to, is that.
And the Messiah, they had that going on too.
Yeah. So, the Messiah alliance, the previous tribe alignments. So, I mean, I think that's in large, what it did come down to, and the fact that she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything, and so people went with something that felt more like a safer bet.
And you also, that's my dog's tail behind me. I'm sorry. She decided to move one of the dogs. She also, I forgot where I was going to go with it. We look for, when we're having to make a tough decision like that, when there's so many connections, sometimes we look for who we just get along best with. And if everybody's talking except one, it's easier to just kind of back away from that one as well. Like we'll get along better, the three of us.
Yeah. And I'm almost surprised, and maybe it's because this game is a mini, but I'm almost surprised people don't try and do more of like, we do get along better. We can find real trust instead of forced trust. Because I think that's ultimately, what people end up doing is they either rely on previous connections, or they're just forced to trust people. But that means there still is time to get to know people and, try people's vibes. I guess it's a matter of how well you can read people's vibes.
Now, speaking about that, can we jump to Exile?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, my goodness. You talking about a non-forced yet forced alliance? I mean, they know that they're going to be on opposite tribes. They know they are. When they got put in there, they knew they were going to be split. But to form the way they're forming, I hope Brian is as connected as Costas thinks they are. Costas was just like, this is my best friend ever. They seem to really get along. And Brian's got some sneaky side to him, but I'm really hoping that it's that connected, because that could really help them along later on. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Especially if there's a forced, swap again, or well, not again, but if there's a forced swap next episode, if the merge is around the corner, because also, once again, we do have to think about, it is 18 players this season, not 20. So as we get, closer and closer, the merge could be right around the corner, and that could potentially be an easy hook in. you know,
Right.
whose original alliance has the majority and hooking in a couple other people to give,
Yeah.
you know.
And if you're on the smaller, the minority, and say, for example, Costas is on the minority, he's got an instant connection to Brian, and Brian can pull him in real easily, or vice versa. If Costas is on the minority, but tries to pull Brian in, says, Brian, look, we can take care of you. Come on over. Could change the numbers.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I did like that we got a little bit of exile. We didn't get, a ton of it because obviously there's much more important information to be at play. But I did enjoy what we got, and they
Yeah.
walked out of it with some advantages, which we had the Rupture Advantage,
Right.
which it's Pangaea. Pangaea broke up into the supercontinents and then the continents that we have today. So I like that little that little thing,
A
and
little
then you
twist.
can
Yeah.
bring it together to have one complete immunity idol. So right now we have a lot of advantages and idols at play in this game.
Right. They're gonna rock everybody's world.
Mhm.
All these hidden things going on.
Yeah, I mean, it could really shake things up. It's unfortunate that Manu doesn't have an idol, but he still has something very powerful that, if used correctly, with a little bit of luck in your favor, could benefit him
Right.
greatly.
Right. Those Zoomvivor gods, you gotta pray to the Zoomvivor gods.
All right.
Exactly.
So, winding things down, we're going to talk about the who we're going to award the Zoomy Award to, which is the player of the episode. So, before I get into who I think my Zoomy Award should be awarded to, who do you think is the player of the episode? Who's the Zoomy recipient?
Oh my gosh, I'm really stressed about that when you mentioned that we did that, because I remembered it from the past, but it's like, ooh, I've got to help figure that out. There are so many, and it spreads so evenly for me that I'm having a hard time with it. I think, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to lean towards Bads, but just because,
Okay.
he could have been an easy target, and those girls could have worked something out so easily, but he must have realized it and worked some magic behind the scenes to keep them from even thinking that. Because that's it. That's the only one I can come up with.
Okay.
Who do you think?
I think that's perfectly fair. I'm going to go with Manu.
Manu.
The reason why is I think he had some very interesting confessionals right in the very beginning, very insightful, very true. Then you had his swap, who was on the clear bottom yet again. He's been on the bottom this whole game pretty much. But despite him being on the bottom, he managed to work his way successfully, and not only successfully, but seemingly genuinely into a new alliance.
Right.
And
You are so right.
I mean, it's just a matter of opinion.
Right.
Bads also played a good hand too.
I
But
think they
that's,
both, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I think with this episode, this is another, I think with like the first two episodes, Bads was just the clear player of the episode, in my opinion.
Right.
But these past couple episodes, you got a really nice, spread of everyone. No one exactly shines, or you could argue that multiple people did really well. But once again, I think I'm going to have to give it to him. He's on the bottom yet again. He worked his ass off, and now he is in an actual alliance, and he did not get voted out.
You are so right. And he turned it. He got that alliance to break and convinced Sherry and Dakota, hey, take a chance. I'll be with you. I don't know how he did it. You're right. Can we talk about one other thing real quick?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I got to talk about Costas and the chaos on his screen. When they put him in to Arakoa, when he went into Arakoa and was watching the tribal, oh my gosh, the man didn't stop moving. It was so distracting. He flipped upside down. He had his feet up in the air. He was rolling around on the bed. I almost got seasick watching him.
I will be 100% honest with you. I did not see that. I was so engrossed.
Go back and watch it. Go
Yeah,
back and watch
I'm
it.
going to have to right after this. I was so engrossed in what everyone else was discussing that I completely like did not notice that. Although
My
I
AD,
noticed,
my ADD, ADHD was just, I couldn't take my eyes off of him. He had that milkshake. He was going to town on that. And I'm like, chaos cost us for a totally different reason.
yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that right after this. But you know what? I guarantee, kind of getting a feeling of who Costas is.
That's
That
him.
was that was yeah, that's him, but that's also gameplay.
You
I
think?
bet you, I guarantee it. I bet you that's part of his social thing. Like, oh, I'm goofy, I'm light, like I'm not this serious person. I have a feeling that's probably what it, or maybe he just is really weird. I don't know. But I feel like that's probably just like him creating light because overall, we have seen a pretty light side of him. And the only time we ever saw anything that was like serious was when Erica wasn't, looking at his messages on Facebook.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
all right. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we end this?
No, but may I make a public service announcement real quick?
Of course.
I think it'll be one that you'll be okay with. You can
Yeah.
edit it if you want. Okay, guys, I want to talk to the LGBTQ plus youth that might be out there. Guys, if you are struggling, if you are hurting, do not turn to suicide. Find help. There are enough people out there that will be there for you and take your side and help you. Suicide is not the way. Let us help you. If you need me, you contact me through Messenger, Facebook Messenger, however. James knows how to get in touch with me. Casey knows how to get in touch with me. Please seek out help. I love you guys and girls and others.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And on that note, we're going to end the podcast there. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you have a moment, please share it too. On that note, everyone have a good day.